In this video, we're going to look at how you can use Firebase and the Apprise SDK to interactively work with multiple users to add electronic signatures to a PDF. While I'm using Firebase, you could extend what we're going to see in this video to work with other cloud-based providers such as AWS or Azure. You could also extend what we're going to learn to develop a system for creating real digital signatures backed with a digital certificate, or for adding annotations or applying redactions to documents. Okay, let's dive straight in. From the Firebase homepage, click on Go to Console and then Create a Project. I've already got one project here, but we're going to create a new one called Apprise Sign App. Note that I'm using all lowercase. You can use uppercase if you want, but when you come to configuring the app later on, the names are case sensitive, so keep everything as lowercase helps to avoid confusion. Now click on Continue. We're not going to use Gemini, so we can disable that. And we're not going to use Google Analytics either, but you could if you wanted to. This will take a little while to run, so I'll speed this up. This brings you to the project overview page. We'll use this several times, and you can get back to here by clicking on this button. For now though, scroll down and click on Authentication. And after a moment, click on Get Started. Firebase offers many different authentication providers, but for this example, we're just going to use email and password. So click on that and enable it. We won't enable the email link option, but you could if you wish. And then click on Save. We could add another provider, but we'll keep things simple and we'll just stick with email and password. Okay, now click on the Project Overview button again and scroll down, and now we'll set up storage. So far, everything we've seen can be done using the free tier that Firebase provides. But for storage, you'll need to upgrade the project to use a pay-as-you-go tier. To do that, you'll need to add a billing account. I'll skip over how to do that, as it may be different where you live. You will, however, probably want to specify a budget amount. I put a limit of $5, so that if I used a lot of data, it wouldn't cost me more than $5 without letting me know. In fact, though, when I was setting things up in preparation for this video, it cost me nothing, since everything was within the free amount that Firebase provides within the tier. Okay, let's link the account. And in just a few moments, we're now able to get started with storage. You will need to choose the location where you want your data to be stored. I'm going to use US Central as that's free, but there's many other options available. You'll also need to specify some rules for who can access the data. Let's just use the default production mode ones for now, and we'll refine them in a minute. So click on Create, and in a few moments the buckets will be provisioned. Now click on Rules. While we should have restrictive rules when you're ready for production, for now let's make the rules simpler and allow read-write access provided that the request.auth is not null. Hit Publish. Great. Now let's go back to the project overview. The final thing to configure is the database, so click on Cloud Firestore, then click on Create Database. Once again, you'll need to choose where it will be located. We'll stick with the default one of the United States. And again, we need to specify some rules, and we'll use the default production mode as we did before. This will now be provisioned, and in a moment or two, we're ready to move on to the next stage. Just as before, we're going to change the default rules to make it just a little easier to get started. And just as before, you need to think about security when you're ready for production. The final thing we need to do is to actually publish our project. So let's go back to the overview page and then click on the Web button. You can specify a nickname for the app, and we will use Apprise Sign App. Now click on Register App. After a few moments, it's going to come back with some values that we're going to need when we're configuring the software side of the project. So copy those and put them somewhere safe. Awesome work. We've now finished setting up Firebase. Next, we need to clone the GitHub repo into a folder. So I've created a new folder called Firebase in my root drive. The project has been scaffolded using Vite, and I'm using Node version 22 and NPM version 10, but it should work with many other versions of these tools. Now navigate to the folder that Git clone has just created and use npm-i to install the dependencies for the project. This will take a minute or so to run, so I've speeded it up. Apprise WebViewer has no external dependencies, so any warnings that you see are likely to be related to the scaffolding used for the project, not to WebViewer itself. Great, that's complete. Now let's use code.i and open up the project in Visual Studio Code. As part of the npm install, PDFtron WebViewer was added into the Node modules. We're also going to need to be able to access the WebViewer files on the client side. So there's a post-install script that will automatically copy those files into the public WebViewer folder. Next, we need to configure how our application is going to interact with Firebase. We saw the values that we need to use a few moments ago in the video. You can either copy those values into a .env file, which can then be accessed from our code, or alternatively, you could just copy the values directly from Firebase and paste them in here, which is what I'm going to do. You can see that there's one value we haven't got, the database URL. So we'll copy that into our block of code and delete the original. Now Firebase doesn't tell you the value for this, but you can calculate it from the project ID, then a dash, then firebase.io.com. Cool. Let's save all that. Now we can open a new terminal window and start our app using npm run dev. Because the app's been scaffolded using Vite, it starts very quickly. Let's look at our web page on a browser, and we'll open DevTools so we can see any console messages. Let's sign up a new account. So we'll do Roger and roger@email.test, and I'll use a password of 123456. Chrome's not very happy with that password because it's weak, but we can ignore that for now. Okay, we're going to very quickly look at what we can do. So let's prepare a document for signing. And in this case, I'm just going to get myself to sign it. So I'm going to say, Roger needs to sign it. I'll put in my email address and then click on Add User. And then I can try and upload a document. So I've chosen just a financial summary report, and we'll add a signature by dragging it in. So far, there's no error messages in the console, and that's great. So let's click on Apply Fields, and then click on Send, and we'll look at this in more detail in a different video. At the home page, we can now see that I've got a document that I need to sign. And if I click on Sign, when it attempts to load the PDF now, we get an error, and that's due to CORS, because something has not yet been configured. So let's look at setting up CORS now. If you look in the project file, you'll find there's a CORS.json file, and this contains some default values for a CORS policy. We need to send these up to Firebase, so let's open a new terminal window, and we'll use the gcloud CLI tool that you can find and download from the internet. So what we're going to say is use gcloud, storage buckets, and update, and then the name of our app. passing in the course file. This will take a little while to run, and once it does, we can go back to our website. And if we clear the old messages and reload the page, now we can sign the document with no errors. Great! That's the project set up. We'll look into how you use the project in the next video. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.